So by remaining open, by remaining a curious yogi, to use the title of your podcast, to remain the curious yogi, then the teaching can keep entering. Because if we could learn it in 1 or 2 seconds, it would be wonderful. And the guru, the genuine guru, assures us that we have reached it and we are that. But having been on this path and having lived with many, many genuine seekers doing genuine sadhana or spiritual practice, we have seen that it just doesn't take a second to reach there, though we've all matured in the knowledge. So we have to remain open and curious and genuine to keep moving forward.
Welcome to a Curious Yogi podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, joined by living masters and awakening friends. We're here to illuminate your practice as we explore what it means to walk the yogi's path, unfold peace from within, and live the vision of oneness. I'm so delighted you're here. Now let's get curious. Welcome back to another episode of a Curious Yogi podcast. I'm super happy to be back after a short break to India. And man, I wrote an email before I left that running away to India always solves all my problems. And as usual, it delivered. It did not solve my problems, but what it solves is my mind, the perception and the perspective of the regular human being is just one that is always by default going towards the problems. But a couple weeks in satsang and meditation in the high Himalayas brings me back down into that state where all is good. So I'm really happy to be back and inspired. And I really want to thank everybody that reached out to me as I expressed a little vulnerably that I had been struggling, and I got a lot of really wonderful emails and messages. So big hugs to everybody. And if any of you are struggling out there, please know that you can always reach out to me. And of course, my cure, Swamiji says meditation is medicine, and I also say satsang is medicine. So please feel welcome to join our Sunday Curious Yogi podcast satsang anytime. And on that note, I just wanted to invite everyone to head on over to the Patreon page and become a member, even a free member, because I'm dropping 3 new courses starting in January, and I will be offering exclusive discounts to the Patreon members, and that's dropping this week. So head on over patreon.com/Curious Yogi podcast. And also, I'm so stoked. We've almost sold out our North India retreat coming up in March. We have 1 room left. I'm so proud of this trip we've curated after many years of exploring and adventuring and meditating in the North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. It is a magical trip. So if you've been thinking about coming, this is your sign. Drop me an email with any questions, and we'd love to get that room filled with you, one of the Curious Yogi podcast listeners. All right. So this week's guest is a true master who has been on this path since the age of 14. She is like one of a kind. Since I met her, she's always made an impression. She's unforgettable, she's delightful, she's knowledgeable, and she's just living that truth. She's walking the talk. And actually want to say that I did record this episode twice because I wasn't pleased with the sound quality. We enjoyed both times. And both conversations were unique and full. So I'll actually be releasing the unreleased episode in the Patreon page as bonus content later this month. So if you're into Guru Gyan, Guru knowledge, then the Patreon page will have both episodes with this guest. So It is a pleasure and delight to introduce to you my dear friend and well-wisher, an auntie of the chosen sort, Aviva Robibo, or Abhaya as I know her. She is a PhD, a scholar-practitioner of Indian philosophy and religion, and a certified teacher of meditation. I wanted to have her on the show for some time, but we were waiting until her long-anticipated book was released. And earlier this year, her book was published. So here we are. And I just want to read a little intro to the book. This is her life's work, by the way. She has devoted her whole life to not only the research of this book, but the lived study of this book. It's called The Guru Tradition, India's Spiritual Heritage. It discusses the natures and roles of both the guru and shishya, or disciple, as depicted in the Upanishads and Dharma Shastras. The entirety of this analysis of guru and disciple is developed into a paradigm by which both the ancient and modern guru tradition can be more thoroughly understood. I think this is so essential. The guru tradition is thoroughly misunderstood in these modern, diluted, capitalistic yoga world. So this episode pulls the knowledge back to this purest place where we explore it with delight, with laughter, with shared appreciation. And I really feel like it's just a glimpse into the intimate moments I've shared with Abhaya over all these years, singing and studying and meditating together. And it's such a joy to share this beautiful episode with you. I hope you enjoy. See you on the other side. Welcome so much with my whole heart, Abhaya, to a Curious Yogi podcast.
I can feel your whole heart.
Good, great. I am over here in Sweden, and just so that the listeners know, we did actually already record this episode last week when I was in India in Abhaya's living room. But because some sound quality the listeners know very well, I'm technically challenged. We are re-recording the episode. But as we just said before we started recording, it's great because we love each other so much. Abhaya is such an inspiration to me, so I'm so happy that I get to do this again.
Me too. Me too. I can't spend enough time with you, so I'm thrilled.
Well, it's so wonderful. I'll just introduce you to the listeners. Abhaya is, first of all, a fellow yogi and dear sadhak. She was my first Hindi teacher when I went to India many, many years ago. And she is a scholar practitioner that has devoted her whole life to her sadhana, to her spiritual development. And she's recently published her life's work, an incredible book, a incredible resource. She's showing it in the screen there, The Guru Tradition, India's spiritual heritage. And you can introduce the book, Abhaya, when you introduce yourself, but this is really your accumulation of your life's work, both your personal study and also your scholarly PhD and your academic career as well. So why don't you just give us a little insight into who Abhaya is and how you came onto this path to live more than 45 years in India and just be such a yogi on the path as well as an academic and a scholar practitioner.
Thank you so much, Bobby, Garima. Everyone knows that you're Bobby and you're also Garima. I was there when you were in India, and Swamiji, our beloved guru, gave you the name Garima, which is infinite, a grand, glorious, and you can say more specifically, what was it? How did he say it?
He said it was Garima as in glory of the self.
Yeah, yeah. And that's because another meaning of Garima, literal, is big, large. So the glory of that self can only be when one is expanded into the consciousness of self. So for myself, I started this path when I was very, very young. I was born in Israel, but grew up in Canada. And from a very young age wanted to know about God. And from a very young age, I began to read about Indian mysticism from the age of 12 and 13 and was totally attracted to everything that was Indian at that time. And it was the 70s, and so the counterculture movement had just happened in the 60s, and I'm part of the 70s generation, and so the remnants of that was in the atmosphere, and so incense and chanting and all of that downtown, and buffalo sandals and white cotton kurtas and all the things that were really kind of funky and cool, but because of the spiritual reminder in them is what attracted me. And so I started to look for a guru, and I heard Swamiji on the radio when I was 14 years old. And then I always say that was my initial initiation. And afterwards, I just started to look into meditation and read Ram Dass's book at the time where he said, "Don't come looking for Neem Karoli. You can't do that." And so I was hoping and praying that I would meet a guru. And through Ram Dass's book, I found a mantra and initiated myself because
Wow.
I just picked the mantra and went ahead with it. I wanted to learn. And so in a nutshell, that's how my practice started.
Beautiful. And I mean, that's a long time ago now that you've been initiated yourself and then heard Swamiji on the radio, and eventually you made your way to India. And I'm really wondering, like, how these 40 plus years of, coming and going to India, spending a majority of your life in the ashram setting, immersed in the guru tradition, how did that shape or deepen or even challenge your research and inspiration to write a book on the guru tradition?
Well, when I came to India, I had graduated college. At that time, Montreal, we had CEGEP. So from high school, you went to CEGEP. And I went to CEGEP, and I loved philosophy and comparative religion and was always interested in those topics. And then I worked for some time, and then I came to India. And in India, within my first week of being here, Swamiji said, he announced as I walked into the meditation room, he said, "Oh, here comes the girl who'll be doing a PhD." And I was completely shocked because I had not imagined myself continuing with the education. And I thought, well, I found my way, which is to meditate, to follow this spiritual life, and it was very obvious to me that that was my vocation. And so at a very young age, and so when he said that, I was quite surprised, but I didn't say anything. And so I was for my first trip here, after 4 months, it was how long I was here, and it was just at that time at the ashram. It's how we moved. We came for 4 months so that we could spend a little bit of time here. And just before I was supposed to return um, home, and I thought, well, I had thought I'll just go back and work and come back to India. And that was what I thought I was going to be doing. And just before leaving, I was 19. I had turned 20 here. Swamiji called me for an interview, and he said, "So now you will go to school." And I said, "But I don't really want to go to school." And so he said, "But it will be very, very good for you." And then he started to list the reasons why I should continue with my education. And one reason was, well, you need to earn money. So I said, well, one just has to work to earn money, as I did to come the first time. And then he said, you won't get any recognition if you just live a simple life working in that way. And I said, but why do I need recognition when I have found my true self? There seems to be no value in that. And so then he posed a few more points, and to which I had more, I could retort to. And then he said, you need to expand your mind
Mm.
and develop your mind. And I looked at him and I thought, I don't really understand what he means by this. And so he said, by studying, then the mind is like a muscle and it will have a chance to develop and expand and improve. And so I looked at him and I thought, okay, as if we were in a battlefield. And he said one thing and I said, no, I don't think it's that. But when he said that, I went, okay, because I could at least be honest that I didn't know what he meant. And so I said, okay, I will go back to school then. So when I came back to Montreal, I had actually, I was enrolled because after CEGEP, you have to enroll. So I was enrolled in the program. And so I thought, okay, I will attend the program. And I did. But before the midterms in December, I dropped out.
Okay.
I thought, I did what Guru suggested. At that time, I didn't know what a guru was. And I thought, I tried and it's just not happening, was my reasoning. And so then I started, and then I never thought I should mention this to him. I didn't understand that when Guru advises somebody, that it's not for his sake that he was advising. It was for the benefit of my soul. And he advised people very differently. So it's not like all young people went and all were suggested to take the no. He advised each one according to their path, what was needed, how to develop. And so I didn't understand that then. And so I dropped out. And then, but because Guru's an all knowing being, one day in India, he looked at my friend who was sitting in satsang and just looked at her and said, is Abhaya still in school? My friends knew I wasn't because, you write your friends what you're doing. So she said, no, I don't think she is. So, being very super intelligent, he didn't write me and say, why are you not doing this? Because his way is not to crush the soul. But he did say a few things to a few people, and those messages reached me through their letters. And so he knew how to communicate without having to point a finger. And as soon as I heard that I wasn't following the path for my own well being, then I actually decided to re enroll. But before I did that, I actually was working full time at the CEGEP as a assistant librarian. And exactly the points that he made to me I learned for myself. Number one, I was working full time and on minimum wage and sharing an apartment with a friend. And there was barely enough to cover the rent and just the basics in life. So I went, oh, yeah, I'm really not earning enough on my own. So, let alone being able to save enough for a future travel. So I thought, because otherwise I would have had to take a second job. And then the second point was, every time a student came in or an older person working there said to me, oh, is this what you're doing with your life? So there was no recognition. Just those points that he made, but that part about the recognition didn't matter because I knew my own self. But not being able to earn enough, plus not being stimulated. And
Hmm.
so then I thought, and then I received those messages and I re enrolled in the university. And at that point, everything was falling into place: scholarships, bursaries, classes that I enjoyed, being stimulated. So I thought, okay, I learned from my own experience when Guruji gives advice, it's for the well being of the person and
Hmm.
not for himself. He was fine. And so I learned that firsthand and then I went back to university.
Beautiful. And then you ended up finishing your PhD in India and have gone on to write this wonderful book, The Guru Tradition, which is really a resource for any scholar or deep studier of the traditions of yoga and India. And I'm just wondering if for the listeners, many of the listeners who are listening as everywhere now, the word guru is sort of everywhere. And I'm wondering if you can just shed some light onto us as to the sort of worn word of guru and then the truer definition that goes beyond definition.
Now, that's a very excellent question because at the time when I was researching, when I started university, so we're talking about 1978 and 79. So that was for I started with an honors BA, and the word guru was not in the atmosphere the way it is now, right? So we're talking about many years ago. Slowly, slowly, it started to be incorporated even into our everyday language. I think there must even be a definition in the Merriam-Webster dictionary or Oxford dictionary. There must be because it came to mean an expert. So you can be called a guru in the field of marketing, a marketing guru, a business guru, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so the very meaning of the word, which is the mystical meaning, guru, from one of the Upanishads, Advaya Upanishad, it says that gu is the remover of what darkness, guru, because it brings the light, and ru means light and gu is darkness in that way. So the guru, through enlightenment, is removing the darkness. And one of the other literal meanings of the word guru is heavy. Heavy in what? Heavy in knowledge. In what way? The authority. Because that one who has become guru is the one who has become enlightened of the self of the truth. And so guru has become the one enlightened of the unchanging, indestructible reality, which is ever present, eternal, undying.
Beautiful. And I think it's also worth noting, just like it says in the title of your book, India's Spiritual Heritage, for those that don't come from Indian or South Asian culture or Hindu culture, this a notion of the guru as that enlightened master is kind of foreign. Can you speak a little bit about the Guru Shishya Parampar and how that's relevant to us as seekers and, desires of freedom?
Now, that's another excellent question, Bobby, because I wrote the Guru tradition, the title, India's Spiritual Heritage, specifically to communicate the point of enlightenment, the tradition of enlightenment. Enlightenment is not a tradition, it is a state of being. So, what we have known in the Judeo Christian culture or tradition is master, disciple, priest, in that way, prophet. But in the Guru tradition, as spoken of in the Upanishads, God is not separate from the one who is realizing God. So the God element is the eternal element, and we can give that many, many names. So in the Indian spiritual heritage, there has been the enlightened one who is teaching who? The one who wants to be enlightened. That one who is enlightened is not just going around demanding that everybody be enlightened. No, it is part of the tradition that only the one who acknowledges that they are lacking a certain awareness then begins to study with one who has reached the perfection of knowledge, which in itself removes the sense of dissatisfaction, the lack of fulfillment, and that person acknowledging that now wishes to attain the state of perfect satisfaction and so forth. So, yes, this knowledge is for the one who wants to learn and not to be imposed upon, but it is also given by the one who has realized that, who has not just matured or reached the state, but who is living it completely. So if I were to write a book on Judaism or Christianity, I would address it differently. I wouldn't call it the Guru tradition, right? I would call it the tradition of the prophet, and so on and so forth. And I don't think there needs to be a comparison. I don't think there needs to be an argument about it also. Like, someone will say, because I am born into the Judeo-Christian tradition, so it doesn't need someone saying, well, Moses was enlightened or Jesus was enlightened. I have no argument on that level. All the prophets were definitely enlightened of that God consciousness, but how that was being communicated and transmitted is slightly different than how it is being done in the Guru tradition. And so I chose to write about that and to bring light to that and to create a paradigm around that, which even in India doesn't exist. This is all from my own experience that, yes, the Guru tradition is an ongoing tradition in India. But when I was researching the topic, I was actually thinking I'm going to find an edifice and, the Guru tradition will be there and I will just have to write down what it is. But no, it's not like that. As as in every way, it was kind of hidden and mysterious. So I went to the ancient scriptures and primarily the oldest Upanishads, and from there defined it in a paradigm form, in a model, that this is the Guru tradition, and that has been tapped into by all philosophical lineages in India, because we have in India the Advaita tradition, which is non-dualism. We have the Dvaita tradition, which is dualism. We have the Vashishtha-Dvaita tradition, which is both non-dualism and dualism together. So there are a lot of traditions going on here. So I thought, each one is tapped into the Guru tradition, but what does the Guru tradition teach?
And I think you have such an interesting perspective because taking your research from, like you said, the most ancient Upanishads, which are like the oldest spiritual texts in the world, but also
Right.
your lived experience as living in that Guru Shishya lineage for your whole life. So, it's very interesting to hear your perspective. Can you speak a little bit about the importance of the shishya, of the student, to the guru? Because I feel that's sort of where we all come from. Those that are listening can relate to you as 14 years old, saying, I wish I had someone in my life that has the knowledge that I want. And even, when you were speaking about the Judeo-Christian tradition or heritage, that's what I felt when I first came to meet
Mhm.
Swamiji. And I thought, this is so revolutionary. He's saying not that he's greater than me, you have to reach to me. This was the first time in a spiritual context someone great and beautiful and mighty said, are me, which
Mm.
to me was like it pierced into that seeker.
Mhm.
So how as we as the seeker to the guru, what role do we play?
I think it's exactly that. Staying open with the wish to reach our highest potential and remaining open, vulnerable to realize our birthright. What is our birthright? That which is unborn. As Swamiji says, you are unborn and undying. What is unborn? That consciousness which never changes. And that is accessed through meditation. So there has to be an agreement between the disciple, the shishya, and the guru. The agreement is to keep learning and unfolding, not to duplicate ourselves as the guru or the teacher who is an embodiment, because my guru was male gender. I will not be male gender, right? So not to duplicate the guru's manifestation, but to duplicate, or no, duplicate's not a good word, to unfold into the awareness of that one who is living the unbroken state of enlightenment. So by remaining open, by remaining a curious yogi, to use the title of your podcast, to remain the curious yogi, then the teaching can keep entering. Because, if we could learn it in 1 or 2 seconds, it would be wonderful. And the guru, the genuine guru, assures us that we have reached it and we are that. But having been on this path and having lived with many, many genuine seekers doing genuine sadhana or spiritual practice, we have seen that it just doesn't take a second to reach there, though we've all matured in the knowledge. So we have to remain open and curious and genuine to keep moving forward, even though each step makes us more wonderful, more peaceful, and more able to perceive the oneness in all around. Yes. So
Mm,
for the student, for the seeker, for the inquirer who doesn't have a guru, the guru is always there because the guru is that pure consciousness. So even if someone doesn't meet an enlightened master, it's okay because just by being open and to go beyond the limitations of the human consciousness to unfold the higher dimension, Guru is there as that pure consciousness to speak to each one. So that's why I say God consciousness is everywhere, and there is no division between the work in India for an aspirant and the work in the Judeo Christian tradition or in any other religious tradition.
beautiful. I think that's important to remember for all of us listeners who are from all over the world, from different traditions, different cultures. And when you were speaking, I was just thinking of, this. I'm not sure, you'll probably know which scripture it comes from, but that idea or that mantra for me is when I take one step towards Guru, Guru takes 1,000 steps towards me. That if we just keep opening ourselves to that truth comes flooding in whatever way is meant for us.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. And I think that's from the modern scripture of the modern world. Take one step towards Guru, and Guru will take, 1,000 towards you. And it's the truth because Guru is God consciousness. It's that highest consciousness. So, like in the way when I heard Ramdas and read Ramdas when I was 14, and was wanting a guru just by wanting. And he's saying, no, no, don't try and come and find Neem Karoli. Just the yearning inside my being was genuine. And Guru did reach out towards me. And so even though it was a few more years till I met him, but we must keep all human beings, whether they're spiritual or not, must never shut themselves down and keep yearning to be better, to be kinder, to be more aware of that which is around them. And that is the best that we as human beings can do for the planet, for each other. Whether we're meditators or not meditators, we must keep staying open and yearning for higher and higher goodness.
Mm, beautiful. Yes, I definitely agree with that. That the world needs us open beings that are living from that place of connection to that God consciousness that you're speaking of. And I was just thinking also about, those that are listening are yogis and practitioners, and a lot of us have the practices and the tools and the sadhana and the philosophy. But can you speak a little bit about Shaktipat and how that transmission traditionally in India and even how we can integrate, like how does it apply to modern yogis, that transmission of knowledge?
Well, Shaktipat now we're venturing into a very mystical.
But we love mystical, right, Abhaya?
Yes, but we don't want to give wrong ideas because some people, it brings about the sense of experience, right? So there have been gurus, like in the 70s, who used a peacock feather and tapped the person's forehead, and the person went into an altered state, and so on and so forth. And such things do happen, right? If a master is truly living that, then yes, they do have those kind of powers. And Swamiji, when he first came to Canada, he did do a little bit of that with people. And then he said he realized it was unnecessary because even if he opened them up, they would shut down again.
Hmm.
So, what's important, the real Shaktipat, the real transmission is of knowledge. So recognizing the guru is living that state. And then the techniques that he's imparting, that's important. So with us, Swamiji has emphasized the practice of meditation. Why? Because every time I sit in meditation, the Shaktipat happens for me,
Hmm.
right? So I don't need to have an outer guru reach forth and tap me on the head with a peacock feather. I can do that. I just have to close my eyes and
Hmm.
meditate. Take that one action for myself every day. Do something good for myself every day.
Hmm.
And then that goodness is offered to others. So we're moving out of the realm of the mystical experiences to a very practical method, and that all human beings can apply, that is available to all human beings, just to sit and meditate
Hmm.
and practice. What does the meditator practice? According to us, the meditation practice is to remember that space when I close my eyes, which I've just gone into right now, and I look out with my closed eyes. I'm looking out into what? Into space. I call it space. Someone may say that it's nothingness, but it's just black, or someone may say it's just blackness, or someone may say it's just blackness with a bit of light. But that space which I see with my eyes closed has no form and no name, and is the essence of the entire universe, the entire manifestation, the essence of the multitudes of universes. I mean, if one wants to get really way out there, and this is the truth, all universes. We are part of one universe, which we call Earth, that revolves around our sun, one galaxy. There are, according to some of the scriptures and now modern science, millions of galaxies and universes. They're unending. The source of all of it is this space. It will not change anywhere. From this, infinity exists. So when I meditate every day, I mean, what more of a Shaktipat, a transmission of powerful energy, than to know and realize that? And what is this space? Guruji has said it's Amar, immortal. He has said it's Madhur, it's blissful. The very nature of this space is immortality. The very nature of this space is blissfulness, a bliss that is not dependent upon the enjoyment of the senses. It is its own state of blessedness. And when I meditate, any human being meditates, any creature or animal or dog meditates, or cat, or beautiful cow, when they close their eyes, because they're all meditators, they tap into this. But the advantage for the human being is that because of this wonderful instrument called the mind, which can torment people, but it's actually a wonderful instrument because of the mind. I can acknowledge it and realize it. Amaram ham madhuram ham. 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 I am immortal, I am blissful, I am immortal, I am blissful. Amaram ham, madhuram ham.
Wow, beautiful. What a beautiful lead into the Shaktipat, which is mantra, which is such the gift of Guru to the whole universe. Like that, just by uttering, whether it's out loud or inside, those few words that remind us of that space which you are speaking about, which is that Guru consciousness, that God consciousness, ever present, Amaram, ever blissful, Madhuram. Wow, thank you so much for that. Beautiful. The listeners should know Abhaya is not only a talented scholar practitioner, but also a talented musician. You have such a beautiful voice. And I know last time when we spoke, I expressed my own interest in the Guru Stotram, which I know is many, many verses long, but the first verse is often sung in yoga classes, in different spaces. And I'm wondering if you can just break that down, because I'm sure many of the listeners have heard that Guru Stotram and don't really have the true understanding of what it actually means.
Thank you. Oh, you're so beautiful. First of all, I wanted to say, just in link to your previous question about the shishya and my what you've inspired. You're inspiring all of this, and it's your freedom space that's allowing the freedom in this being to come, because I'm not planning any of it. In fact, if I planned it, I wouldn't answer the questions the way I just did and even go into the lead into meditation. I wouldn't do that if I planned it, but it's just happening, and that's because of your space, which is very, very open. And I wanted to say that what you are creating with these podcasts and with your life is all goodness. And just even the way it didn't work before, like you said, and you wrote me, and I said, yeah, sure. And I just thought, I mean, she's taking all this time to meet with people, to bring out from them their experiences, to share with so many people. And that is your goodness. And so the path of meditation and sattva is unfolding in you brilliantly. And you are that Garima, that huge infinite space of glory and goodness. So I wanted to say you're the proof of that. And what you're creating and how you are inspiring the spirit self in me to speak. That's you. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that. And now I will answer your question. And it deserves to be acknowledged. You deserve to be acknowledged in full glory, because it's not a small offering on your part to many seekers. It's not. It's a very large offering. And so it's coming from a deep sense of spirituality that you're doing this. So, yes,
Thank
I
you,
did want to,
Abhaya.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're very,
But I also will I will accept the beautiful appreciation, and also bounce it back that yes, meditation and the guru tradition has changed my life infinite fold, and that I am so inspired to share these conversations with a beautiful wise people like yourself, because having friends like you on the path is such an inspiration and a reminder for me to keep going on my path. And what better space to share with other seekers who are desiring that good company than to share wisdom like you have that's lived? And so it's only because of you also. So I just appreciate you back.
Thank you for asking that question, Garima. Thank you, Bobby, because it is Stotram. It is a verse that is sung very, very often. And it reminded me of something that I had studied, which I thought you would also like to know before I go into the Guru Stotram. The word Om is also used often, before a yoga session or after. And the reason being is I had read this just a few years ago that it is said in the Dharma Shastras, which are the law books. They call them the law books for the Hindus, but it's actually rules that are for teachers. I was reading the section about the guru and the disciple, and it said that before a lesson is begun, the word Om is to be chanted. And when the lesson is finished, the word Om is to be chanted so that the teachings can actually be imbued fully and absorbed fully. So I think that is the first tradition as to why even the Guru Stotram, the first verse of the Guru Stotram, is being chanted. And that is Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahm, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. And as we were speaking of openness earlier, it ends with Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, and it means, I salute you, O enlightened one. Again and again, I salute you. For what? For the enlightenment that you are living and are holding. And by saluting that one, I remain opened to the highest. And so the word that is almost the most important part of the stotram is Guruve Namaha, Guruve, the enlightened one. And who is that enlightened one? Guru Brahma. Brahma, they're the three faces, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, and they symbolize Brahma is the creator. Vishnu is the maintainer, the one that preserves the creation. And Mahesh is the one who is the destroyer of it, not so that we should have destruction, but to just till the field so that something new can arise, can be created, preserved again and again, because that's very important to keep that flow going again and again so that we keep unfolding and unfolding and unfolding into greatness. And
Mm.
so Guru Brahma, Brahma, as I said, is the creator. And it's just amazing that the ancient sages understood this. Let's have the one who is creating, let's acknowledge the creation. So it means right away by bringing in Brahma, I am open
Mm.
to the knowledge coming. Then when the knowledge comes, then let's bring in Vishnu. Vishnu is the preservation, that by having it, then I can keep practicing that which was created. So let's say if it's mantra, then now I can keep practicing the creation of the mantra and maintain it. And then we bring in Mahesh, which means the way that it was practiced then, now we sift through it all and start again, so that the process remains ever fresh and our consciousness remains ever fresh to keep unfolding into the highest. And so that is that mantra. And who do we salute? The Eternal One, the Gurave Namaha. I again and again, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha salute, because it's Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru who Sakshat, the Eternal, Param Brahm, the Supreme Brahm, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, I salute
Mm.
that one again and again.
Mm.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahm, Tasmai Shri Guru Sakshat Param Brahm. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you. Nice. That's a good one to have on repeat, to keep reminding us of all those points we can say of the path, which lead us into that place where there is no point. I think it's really beautiful. And you've given us so much to sort of chew on and contemplate and think about in our own spiritual practice and where we're headed. But I'm wondering if you can leave us, the curious yogis, with, the kind of some pointers, if you will. I mean, you already spoke a lot about being open and keeping that openness, but what steps can we take, on this path to keep moving towards that awareness of that Guru Stotram that you just spoke about? How can we keep one pointed in that?
Practice, the word that just came to my head again and again while you were asking that, is
Mm.
practice. Because yes, I did speak about the openness and again the Tasmai Shri, but how do we remain in that practice? So I remember we met an artist who came to visit Swamiji, one of Canada's prime artists, Squire, yeah, Gerald Squires, and from Newfoundland, and he came to visit his daughter here. And it was many, many years ago. And so we were speaking about how he lived as an artist. And he said, I get up every day, and he said, and I paint. And he said, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't paint. I don't wait for inspiration to paint.
Mm.
And so, for anything that anyone wants to attain, if we have to rely upon inspiration, what is inspiration? It's the whim of the mind, it's the whim
Mm.
of the emotions,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
will not help anyone succeed in anything. And any artist, any business person, anyone who has accomplished anything, even someone who's working in the food industry as a waiter, which is no small job to wait after people and serve them. If they have to rely upon inspiration, they will not do their job. So, for curious yogis, for all of us as yogis, practice. I do not practice because I desire just to practice. Many days, of course, the practice is set and we want to. But there may be days that I think, oh, who bothers, right? No, we keep practicing, we keep applying ourselves and understanding that the mind, which is the most excellent vehicle for realization, can also be a deterrent, right? Because it can come in with thoughts that are unnecessary and can deplete one of very valuable energy. So we just say, okay, thank you very much for your opinion today, but I'm going to keep trucking on with my practice.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
then the practice becomes firm and strong, and even when one has been meditating for years, that sense of the mind will always try to take one away. So to know that. The highest work is to become divine, and it is the hardest because we cannot remain as just human beings satisfying our senses and aiming for the good life. We want
Mm,
the perfect life, the
mm.
highest life, not just the dolce vita. We want the highest, supreme life. And that is for the curious yogi practice. Remain open and practice. So they're kind of like two wings of one bird.
Yeah, beautiful. And I was also thinking, like, if I look to my guru, our guru, as the ideal of the one living in that totally free realized state, he also practiced. He practiced so much right till the took Mahasamadhi, he was meditating. And that's a real inspiration for me to meditate each day.
He was unbelievable as an example because he just that was him. He knew that he was that self. He was enlightened. He would because I used to sometimes look after the library because I like books. He would read the same Yog Vashisht book. He had at least 10, 12, 15, 20 copies. He would read it from beginning to end and mark up the side of the pages each time. He was engaged in it. He wasn't, "Oh, I've already read this." No,
Mm.
it was
Yeah.
continuous, continuous, and that example is worthy of remembering because it gives us the energy to move on, and to the very end, he did not stop being who he was, that perfection of consciousness, and we call it teaching, but he was just being who he is,
Mm.
right? And offering to the very end because he was just that perfection of being enlightened. Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, it's
Beautiful.
been a great conversation with you. Lucky for me, my second one with you of the Guru tradition, which is your area of mastery. Truly, you're a master. So thank you so much. Yes. For those that are just listening, we've got the Guru tradition, India's spiritual heritage here in the screen. So the
And
book
this
you
is
can
the Kulu Valley.
yeah, it's a beautiful cover, really beautiful. So the book now is available in Canada and the US for a more hefty price. It's an academic book, but it's now available to purchase in India for a much more affordable price. And I'm sure it will get, like you said, more affordable. So we'll put all the links in the show notes so people can get the copy if it's available in their area.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I did it
Yeah.
as a labor of love for and instruction from my guru who said to get a PhD, and this was the topic I wanted to write about. And he was the one who encouraged me to publish. So it all just happened on the steam of Guru's energy, light, and awareness. So thank
Well,
you for that.
and it's such a gift that you're giving to yogis and learners and researchers from now and well into the future. So it's your legacy. Just before we wind up, I wanted to mention something. At the beginning, you introduced my spiritual name,
Wow.
Garima, and the meaning, but you also have a beautiful name on the book cover is Aviva, your English name or your name from birth, but Swamiji gave you the name Abhaya, if you want to say the meaning of
Yeah.
Abhaya, which I
Yes.
think it suits you perfectly.
Thank you. Yes, before I met him physically, I was writing letters, and so I must have been 17 or 18 when I started to write letters. And in the second letter he sent me, it opened with this sentence: "You seem to be that god or goddess who is known as the fearless one. So your name is Abhaya." And Abhay means fearless. Bhai, it means fear. And in Sanskrit, when one adds an a in front of the noun, then it is the opposite. So Abhay means no fear, fearless. And with the ya at the end, it makes it feminine. And the other meaning he gave to it when I came to India. He said, Abhaya means fearless, but it also means the state of no division. Because when there is no division in our being, then we have no fear. So the fear is based on duality. When I think something is other than me, and
Hmm.
so then I would be afraid of them. It doesn't mean that I should jump into an ocean if I don't know how to swim, because the fear at that time is just knowledge. It doesn't mean fear in that way. It means the fear caused by the sense of division, that there's me and you as two separate beings. So I've been meditating on that also all these years, on the meaning
Hmm.
of that.
Well,
Yes.
I would say you definitely, lived up to your name, and that's the brilliance of Guru's guidance in our lives, even just by the simple offering of a name to remind us of our true nature, that we are not just name and form and this small individual person, but actually something, like you said, undivided and totally great, like Garima, and fearless, like Abhaya. So that's beautiful that we get to share that, aspire to that, and remember that. And just to wrap up, I like to ask my guests three quick fire questions. So the first question is, at this point in your sadhana, are you still curious about anything?
Um, at this point in my sadhana, I am curious to just keep unfolding into the strength. I wouldn't call it a curiosity. I would call it, I remain ever interested at this point for myself to keep unfolding in greater and greater awareness and power to attain that state of no division, the non-dual state. So because it is a incarnation long work, and I'm curious about, yes, all the wonderful treats that it delivers when one lives that perfectly. I like the sense of living heaven on earth.
Beautiful. Thank you. Nice. And next, do you have any mahavakyas that you've picked up along the way that you can share with the listeners that possibly could inspire our practice?
Yes, love is God and God is love. And love is one's own true self. And it is the bhakti, the devotion. And that is the nectar for all devotees to keep tuning in to that devotion, love, sweetness, and adoration of the divinity of the beyond. I am also known as a bhakta. My friends know me. I'm a kirtan singer, kirtan leader, because I believe in repeating the name of God again and again and again and again, chanting it again and again, because it just completely opens the whole being and keeps the love flowing. And when it flows here, it flows there. And what the world needs now is love, sweet love, that we just keep needing all the time.
Nice. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. You definitely lived that, Abhaya. And finally, if you could sum up this conversation in one sentence.
I will take it to you, Bobby. This conversation in one sentence is, Bobby Garima, keep doing what you're doing because you're filling the world with tremendous knowledge, wisdom, joy, and delight, and keeping us connected to Guruji, that infinite, divine, immortal consciousness.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Abhaya. A master, a friend, a teacher, just a totally delightful being. I'm so thankful to have you in my life. Also, as my auntie, you really
Yes,
are
I was
that.
gonna say that, your auntie.
Yeah. And a friend on the path and just a
Yeah,
wise person in my life. So
yeah.
I'm so thankful to share your wisdom with the listeners and just celebrate your book and celebrate all your knowledge you have to share with the curious yogis. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I really love you. Amaram ham, madaram ham.
Really love and appreciate you too. Amaram Hamaduram Ham. Thank you so much for this incredible time together. Thank you.
JJ. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/a curious yogi podcast. And please leave a review. It really helps the show reach more people. Let's stay curious, connected, and keep walking the path together. In total delight, this is Bobby signing off until next time.